Are you looking for the best graphics cards? In this video, we will look at some of the 5 best graphics cards on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description. So make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. AMD Radeon RX 9070 XT. AMD has stormed back into the PC gaming GPU arena with all guns blazing, and the new Radeon RX 9070 XT is the company's most competitive graphics card for a number of years. It costs just $50 more than the Nvidia RTX 5070, and it's significantly more powerful across the board, while also having a full 16 GB of VRAM for future-proofing. What's more, AMD has massively caught up with the competition when it comes to ray tracing and AI. This new card supports AMD's FSR 4 resolution upscaling tech, which looks massively better than FSR 3, and its GPUs can keep up with Nvidia in ray tracing now, while also handling path tracing. There are only a couple of caveats about this new GPU. Firstly, it draws a lot of power, so make sure you have at least an 850W PSU in your rig. AMD also doesn't have an equivalent of Nvidia's multi-frame Gen tech yet either, where a GPU can use AI to insert multiple frames between genuinely rendered ones, smoothing out your frame rate. However, in terms of raw gaming power, the 9070 XT is absolutely the best buy in this price sector right now. Number 2. Nvidia GeForce RTX 5090. Nvidia has gone all out with its latest flagship, which brings the full magic of DLSS 4 to 4K gaming with multi-frame general. This clever new tech uses AI to insert up to 3 extra frames between each pair of rendered frames, and it massively increases the frame rate. In fact, in our tests, this card can even run Cyberpunk 2077 at 4K with full path tracing enabled and get an average of 207 frames per second, a phenomenal result at these settings. Comparatively, the RTX 4090 can only average 82 frames per second in this game at its maximum frame gen settings. What's more, thanks to the new transformer model Nvidia has introduced with DLSS 4, your games look much sharper if you enable the super resolution upscaling tech. Meanwhile, Nvidia has also managed to cram a load more CUDA cores into this card's colossal GPU, giving it a decent step up in performance over the 4090 across the board. This performance benefit is smaller than we've seen in previous generational shifts. For example, the RTX 5090 averages 146 frames per second in Call of Duty Black Ops 6 at 4K, compared to 120 frames per second on the RTX 4090, but that's still a performance boost. It's not all plain sailing, which is why the RTX 5090's review score is only a 6 right now. The $1,999 MSRP is already sky high, and the actual prices of board partner cards are much higher. Plus, it can be hard to find RTX 5090 stock right now, unless you want to pay scalper prices. The power draw is also extreme, and you'll need at least a 1000W PSU to feed this beast of a graphics card. If you want the absolute fastest GPU you can buy though, and you're prepared to pay the price, make no mistake, this is the card you want. Number 3. AMD Radeon RX 9070. When you only need to spend $50 more to get the fantastic 9070 XT, the 9070 gets a little bit lost in this crowded market. But if you genuinely can't afford the extra money for the 9070 XT, or if you simply can't find the latter in stock, the Radeon RX 9070 is a solid option. Not only does it have more VRAM than the competing Nvidia GeForce RTX 5070, giving it some more future-proofing, but it's also more powerful in most of our game tests. In fact, in Call of Duty Black Ops 6, it's even faster than the RTX 4080. Unlike previous AMD GPUs, the 9070 can also cope well with ray tracing, where it outperforms the RTX 5070 in F124 and isn't far off the pace in Cyberpunk 2077. The Nvidia GPU is quicker at path tracing, and also has the benefit of multi-frame gen, but the 9070 is generally the more powerful option. Not only that, but it's also more power efficient than the 9070 XT, with our test system drawing 395W from the mains with a 9070 installed, compared to a massive 487W with the 9070 XT. Number 4. Nvidia GeForce RTX 5060 Ti 16GB. Loads of fast VRAM is the key to the appeal of the Nvidia GeForce RTX 5060 Ti 16GB. It may have a slower GPU than the RTX 5070, but thanks to its 16 GB of VRAM, it can actually outperform that card in some extreme situations where games are using ray tracing and maxed out detail settings, as the more expensive card has only 12 GB of VRAM. Games are simply pushing the limits of graphics card memory these days, and even a lower mid-range card like the RTX 5060 Ti can benefit. With a price that comfortably undercuts the RTX 5070 and AMD RX 9070, this puts the Nvidia GeForce RTX 5060 Ti 16 GB into a niche all of its own. Its performance exceeds cheaper cards like the RTX 5060 Ti 8 GB, RTX 4060 Ti, and RX 7600, all while having that VRAM to future-proof against ever more complex games. All that said, it's not a miracle cure for low gaming frame rates. Its GPU is still fairly modest and in line with its $429 asking price. If you're looking for reliable 1080p performance at high detail settings with ray tracing, it's great, but it can only deliver that experience at 1440p in some games and isn't a card for 4K gaming. That said, it gets you access to Nvidia's clever multi-frame gen tech that uses AI to insert extra frames between normally rendered frames, which can seriously boost the smooth feel of some games. Where this card's appeal balances on a knife edge, though, is in real-world pricing. In the UK, it's readily available at its MSRP of £399, and while it's not a slam dunk of a card, it offers decent value. However, in the US, it's not yet widely available at its MSRP, with prices regularly well above $550. At that price, it's still a relatively decent buy, as all GPU prices are inflated right now. But it's not a price we'd be overly happy to pay for its performance level. Number 5. AMD Radeon RX 9060 XT. The AMD Radeon RX 9060 XT is the new king of budget graphics cards, if you can find it in the right configuration and at the right price. With an MSRP of $349 for the 16 GB version and $299 for the 8 GB version, both are better buys than Nvidia's current competition, the RTX 5060. In particular, the RX 9060 XT 16 GB comfortably outperforms the RTX 5060 and competes strongly with the RTX 5060 Ti 16 GB. However, because it's such a strong performer, it keeps selling out, so getting hold of one at its proper price is very tricky, particularly in the US. That said, all graphics cards are seeing inflated prices at the moment, so relatively speaking the RX 9060 XT is still decent value. As for the RX 9060 XT 8 GB, it suffers from the same problem as the RTX 5060, which is being limited to just 8 GB of VRAM. This limitation means several modern AAA games simply don't run well at all at high settings, as they need more VRAM. This factor aside, the RX 9060 XT 8 GB is a solid performer for 1080p and occasional 1440p gaming and a better option than the RTX 5060. Just don't expect to run path tracing on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, or similar ultra-demanding scenarios, even at low resolutions.